Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. 9 after 8 o'clock. News and views on Salam Media. And our first story of the day, which of course is on all media platforms. It is the big story. And it is obviously about Ramaphosa being thrown a lifeline as MPs vote against the Phala Phala report. Now, ANC MPs followed the party line at a special sitting of the National Assembly on Tuesday, which of course was yesterday, voting to quash the Phala Phala report and throwing a lifeline to Cyril Ramaphosa in his bid to retain his leadership of the party and the state. So, does this come as a surprise? Should we, as South Africans, uh, you know, uh, have expected anything different? I don't know. Let's hear what a party leader of Al Jamaa has to say. He is, of course, Hanif Hendricks. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Alaikum salam. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay. You obviously voted. You were all for Cyril Ramaphosa. You wanted the report to be rejected. Lots of other people had the same view as you did. Do you think this was a surprise at all, or was this the outcome you were expecting?
Look, I had an opportunity I had speaking time before the actual vote, and I put the question, does Ramaphosa make the cut? And I said that I have mixed feelings, but that I would look at what people had to say during the debate and then make up my mind how I am going to vote. I lay down what I feel any cadre of the ANC, which values they should stick to, and also obviously any aspirant future presidents. And I use the political 10 commandments of Chief Albert Lutuli, which resonates with many of the values of Islam and the Sharia. And I put forward that members of parliament must vote according to their conscience, and I will also vote according to my conscience. And at the same time, I mentioned that I will vote in terms of the realities of the situation. And I told members of leaders of political parties, and there are 14, that their political parties are not branches of the ANC, and that the ANC won the elections in 2019. They gave the authority to their branches to elect an NEC and to elect a president. We need to wait for that outcome, which is happening in 2-3 days' time. And I felt that the speaker was too hasty to schedule this debate because it would have helped us make a more informed decision after hearing what the branches have to say about this matter, because in the end, the nation gave them the mandate to run the country. So I believe many members of parliament voted according to their conscience. Either way, none of the other political parties, maybe except for one, voted according to their oath that they took. And you find that if you look at the EFF, not a single dissent. You look at the DA, so they all toed the party line. It's only in the African National Congress that there were at least 4 or 5 that did not toe the party line. So opposition parties,
All right. I think that's something very, very important that you've touched on. Why do you suppose that 5 people voted against Ramaphosa, and then also there were 2 abstentions? What is that saying to the to Parliament and Ramaphosa himself? And then the other thing that's pretty concerning as well is that senior members of the party and Ramaphosa's allies had warned that those who support the report could face expulsion from the party and therefore lose their positions as MPs. That was an outright and a direct threat, was that not?
Look, we must understand that the cabinet ministers serve at the behest of the president. So that should not be an issue because they don't have a quarrel if the president makes any changes. That is democracy, and that is what they all adhere to. However, the other MPs who are not cabinet ministers, the African National Congress, and I don't want to speak for them, they have disciplinary procedures. You can go to court. There's a constitutional court judgment which says that members of parliament must vote according to their conscience. So if the ANC is going to take action against any of the MPs who dissent, they are very thin ice. So we must take all that into account. And the threats that was alleged by the EFF that were made to kill members of parliament that's going to vote in favor of the report, that is politicking at the moment. And I would imagine that members of the ANC senior members, they would lobby. They would try and persuade others to go in a certain direction. That happens in politics. And this is certainly what happened. What is sad is that the chairman of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, did not rebut the claims that he issued the threats. So, but at the end of the day, I think many members of parliament, in fact, one or two of them, the Minister of Small Business, she said that I'm voting according to my conscience and I'm voting against the report. So, the speaker wanted people not to talk too much and just say yes or no. But that was the trend. And even Mrs. Zuma, she stated that she's a very disciplined member of the ANC, but she is voting according to her conscience because in that parliamentary vote, you stand there as a member of parliament. These are not issues of relating to budget or programs or policies. It is keeping the president to account.
And you believe by so doing, it's going to keep him to account. Let's just go back to the two abstentions. Can you comment on that? Why do you suppose Lindiwe Sisulu abstained? Also, Mkhize he wasn't present, was he?
Look, they were absent from the sitting. The two people that abstained was Patricia de Lille and Brett Herron. They abstained. As you know, Patricia de Lille serves in the cabinet at the behest of Ramaphosa, but she abstained. So she also voted according to her conscience. Now, Sisulu and Keys are aspirant presidential candidates, and I think they just played safe and decided, look, let us stay away. And so that was their choice. If you look at it, everything was transparent and open. People could stay away. I didn't hear that there was an order that everyone must attend. You know, sometimes they rush you to a sitting in your wheelchair if you're in hospital. There was no such order. And some members of the ANC voted for the report. And none of the political parties, the big ones, not one dissent. So obviously they follow the party line. When they complain about the threats and all of that, it's all thunder but no lightning.
What do you suppose is going to happen hereafter? Obviously, all eyes are now on the elective conference. Do you believe that the way the voting went yesterday is going to have a bearing on the elective conference? Because when we look at the 364 members who attended the sitting, 214 voted against the report and 148 supporting its adoption. Two MPs, as we know, abstained. And we also know that the report needed a simple majority for it to be adopted. So, having said that, what is, or do you think that these are two totally separate issues altogether?
No, I think it is very strongly linked. As you know, two-thirds of the ANC branches have indicated their support for President Ramaphosa. They still have an opportunity to change their mind, and the debate will obviously help them to decide whether they're going to stick to their position or whether they're going to change their mind. And the Minister of Justice and myself laid out that there are no merits for impeachment. The Constitution says there must be gross violation of the Constitution for a president to be impeached. And it's an expensive process and it's a long process. So impeachment is not just according to the whims and fancies of a political party like the ATM or the EFF. They have to. It has to have. There has to be a constitutional muster. So we had two judges, some of the top judges that are retired and a very respected advocate, looking at some of the allegations. And one of the allegations was that he had about $1 million in the compartment in one of his couches. So that was common cause. Ramaphosa didn't argue against that allegation, and yet the panel did not say that that is a gross violation of the Constitution, that they had up to $1 million in his couches at home. So yes, his hands may have not been clean, but that's why I said earlier on, does President Ramaphosa make the cut? We have mixed feelings, but we're going to listen to the debate. And after listening to the Minister of Justice and after my research team's speech that they wrote for me, I also came to the conclusion that the allegations made, Al-Jamaa can't support it. It doesn't have what we call evidentiary muster. There was no affidavits, there was no cross-examination, re-examination. And as you know, I've spent 6 months in the panel that looking at the impeachment of the public protector. So we've learned quite a lot, and we can see, whether in this particular matter there will be any merits for an impeachment. And we also know that the ANC has the numbers. You need two-thirds to get an impeachment. So it's going to be wasted expenditure. It helps in that it puts everyone on their toes, not to infringe the Constitution, to be ethical, to give good leadership. So as far as the conference is concerned, I feel that President Ramaphosa, the branches will vote for him, and he will continue to be the president of South Africa. Whether that's a good thing or not, one has to weigh now what alternatives are there. Some people are saying, don't look at the alternative, look at the matter before you. And certainly people like Malema and Steenhuisen, they don't make the cut as far as the values espoused by Chief Albert Atuli, who is the first African Nobel Peace Prize winner, laid down, and which I referred to in my speech. And it was discussed thoroughly by the former statistician of South Africa at the 16th lecture to commemorate Chief Albert Atuli.
Okay, I get what you're saying, that it's not simple. It's not, this is not a simple situation. And you can't just say, he needs to be impeached or not. You also have explained the impeachment process is very lengthy and very, very costly as well. Can the country afford it? Should we be going that route or not? So, this is a very complex situation. But I also do believe, as a layperson, that the president does have a case to answer, or he does owe an apology, or he owes an explanation to the general public. The country is on its knees in terms of uh, you as a member of parliament, you as a party leader knows the challenges we face in the country, the Eskom sabotage, call it what you will, what state capture has done to the country. We are on our knees. And then you hear the president has $1 million stashed in his couch or his mattress or whatever the case may be. He is sitting pretty. We, as the ordinary people in the street, are bleeding. We can barely put bread on the table. So, having said that, and I get what you say with due respect, it's not a simple, clear cut answer that can be given. It's not a simplistic solution. Lots of analysis has to be done before you can get some form of plausible explanation and make the president answer for what went down and what was wrong. Where do we stand? We need answers. What do we do in the meantime? Can we
Look,
trust the man going forward?
when you want to impeach a president, you got to follow parliamentary processes. So I would imagine that there will be an attempt to establish an ad hoc committee of parliament to do so going forward. And that ad hoc committee will be able to call everyone to give evidence under oath. It can call the Reserve Bank. It can call the revenue services. It can call Home Affairs. It can even call the president. So whether that process will that is one of the ways forward. Then of course we know that the president, like you say, has a case to answer, and even two judges agree with you that he has a case to answer as far as allegations is concerned. But these are matters of law, and if any an accused does have the right to remain silent, and I don't know whether the president has that right, but people say the president must be treated like all people. So if all people have the right to silence, then certainly he also has the right to silence, although he's the president of the country. So he's decided to use that option as far as he can, and it is now up to the Reserve Bank, the prosecuting authorities, to decide whether they're going to charge him. And so their names are in the block at the moment, and they
Okay, let me
will
wrap
give.
up. Hanif,
Yes.
let me wrap up with this. We're running out of time. And this is important. I think you are well aware, as all South Africans are, that we have a very, very small tax base. And that tax base, that very tiny tax base, is carrying the rest of South Africa. And it's ordinary people, working class people like myself, that is part of that tax base. Again, I say it, a lot of people can just about manage to put bread on the table. And those are the people that are being taxed. And here you have the president who has $1 million stashed on his game farm, which indicates that he hasn't paid tax on the sales of that livestock. what example is he setting? In fact, I think all of that money should be confiscated and put back into the treasury or go back into SARS. That's the penalty that he should suffer. It is not fair that we are being taxed, we eking out a living, and here all the fat cats get away literally with murder. And I know I have digressed from the actual point that he needs a case to answer, but all of these other issues come into play here. We don't have the money. We need that money to run this country.
Look, the president claims that he's paid all his taxes. And as you know, that there are strategies in place, damage control, I call it, which says that all that money under the mattress is going to be paid back to the buyer of the buffaloes. And he has demanded his money back because there's been no delivery. And secondly, there seems to be no quarrel to pay his money back. So all that money from the mattress will now go from the mattress to him. He's
Very
also
convenient.
he's also declared the money he claims when
So
he
he
lands.
says. Yes, so
Yeah.
he says.
So
We don't know.
obviously, I don't know if you travel a lot, but we have to fill in a form at the airport
Yes,
to say how much currency we have. First of all, to show that we're not going to be a burden on the country. I think that's the only reason. But he declared all his money. And these people who are billionaires, they like to declare their money. They like to show they are rich. And now, obviously,
however, and I'm going to end here. However, when this Sudanese businessman or billionaire, whatever he is, was asked to provide the proof of the declaration at the airport, he refused to provide that proof. So, you wonder if this is not perhaps a made up story. But Hanif, always wonderful talking to you. We're going to have to leave it. We're going to have to leave it here, but I'll allow you a minute just to wrap up. Go ahead, please.
let's talk about that declaration. I don't know if you travel, but you rush to fill in your form. You leave the form there. You don't keep a copy of your form.
Okay.
And I think that this is a very nice cover up story. But in conclusion, South Africa needs a president. And we voted for the ANC in 2021. They got a majority. So now we are stuck with our decision on who we put into power, and we must suffer the consequences, and that's what we are doing now. So now the way it works is that the president has to be re-elected at an ANC conference this weekend, and all the mandate is in the hands of the branches. We are not substitutes of the ANC, and we must now leave it to the branches, and they had an onerous process to accredit delegates. People went to court to become a delegate. So we have to wait for that outcome.
Okay. As I've said, always nice chatting with you. Thank you indeed for being on the show this morning. It is the festive. We know there's lots of crazies on the road. So whatever it is that you're going to be doing over the holiday period, take it easy, stay safe, and inshallah we will talk again sometime soon. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was Hanif Hendricks, Al Jamaa party leader, talking to us about the ANC MPs having rejected the Phala Phala report. It is exactly 8:32 a.m. Standing by to talk with us is Senior Manager, Electronic and Transactional Banking at Al Baraka, and that is you, Asia Jamal. But we will join you after the ad break, inshallah.